Hi friends, happy to see you all back in another week's quick tip video brought to you by dataplatformscentral.com. In this edition, we are going to look into a beginner level Power BI Power App tip. In this edition, we see how we can implement a very simple Power App so as to solve the issue of concurrent data manipulation. So here the scenario looks like this. There is a very small company which is dealing with some day-to-day online purchases, and they have a department which processes the orders through phone. In such a company, they maintain an Excel sheet with a single employee who captures the orders he is getting through phone on a daily basis. Now this will work fine with a single employee and with a small number of orders being received on a daily basis. Now at a later point of time, when the company grew a little bit, they started getting more orders, and of course they will have a team of people who will be processing these orders. In such cases, Excel being a file system, it's very difficult for people to work parallelly and concurrently on a single Excel system. So we'll see how we can convert the data which is stored into a single simple Excel sheet into a repository which can be concurrently manipulated. That means concurrently data can be added and data can be updated. And for this purpose, we will be creating a small Power Apps. So what we will be doing is we will be creating a Power App through which the customer related details and the order related details can be captured by these order processing employees. And on the back end, we use Dataverse, which is the common data model which will be used by the Power Platform for storing the data. So let's see how we can convert the data which is coming in a simple Excel sheet into a Dataverse table, and how we can build a Power Apps on top of it so that the people can parallelly use this Power App for adding or deleting or updating the order related details which is stored inside the Dataverse. And in the final part, we will see how this Dataverse data can be used for analysis within Power BI so as to visualize the order related data. For the sake of this demo, let's consider an Excel sheet like this which consists of the details of orders. So this Excel sheet is the one which was originally maintained by the team for entering the order details, and there are lots of customer details entered into the sheet along with the order date and the order total. Now our first attempt is to migrate this data into the repository, and we are going to create the repository inside Dataverse. So let's go ahead and create a simple repository which is a table in this case in Dataverse, and let's migrate this existing data which is the order related data into the Dataverse. And once that is done, then let's try to create a Power App on top of it for the further entry of order information parallelly by multiple employees who are a part of the current order processing team. So let's go to the home page of Power Apps, and this represents the home page of the Power Apps which is accessed by going to powerapps.microsoft.com, and inside that you have a section for Dataverse. When you expand the section, you can see the tables, and once you go inside the table, you can see so many tables which are inside the Dataverse, and these are part of the standard tables. If you see the type of the tables, these are standard tables. Now we are going to create one more table inside that, which is a custom table which is going to hold the details of our order entry data. And so for that purpose, let's go to the new table option on top of it. Let's click on the new table, and we need to give the display name, and we are going to name the table order details because it is going to contain the details of the orders, and the name would be automatically. So this is this prefix will be added based on your account, so you can go to that environment unique name. So for adding that unique name, it will append or prepend this environment name to the your table name. And if you want to change the display name, you can change it here. So if you want to change it to orders, you can make the display name as orders. So if you want to enable attachments, you can do that. So we are not going to do it because we are just going to store some basic order related data. And if you want to have more details like add a description to that or add a table type, and that those things can be done. So it can be a standard table, it can be an activity table. In our case, it's a standard table. And if you want to enable change tracking, you can enable that. That means any change in this table will be automatically tracked. It's like the CDC, the change data capture feature available in databases. It's the same thing. So you can enable that if you want. And so if you want to add any offline properties also, that can add. In this case, we are not going to add any offline properties. So let's click on create for creating the table. So now the table will get automatically created with some standard columns which are part of every Dataverse table. And now we will add our additional attributes to the table once it is created. Now we can go ahead and add the required columns. So we are going to add how many columns? We need to go to the Excel and compare. So we have customer name, order description, order date, and order date total, which is coming from the Excel. So we should be adding corresponding columns here. So we will add order description, and it will be a type text, and it can be searchable if you want, or if you don't want it to be searchable, you can it's like adding an index to the column. So if you want, you can remove it, and it's optional or mandatory, you can see. So it's a order description, so it should be required. So you can click on done. Then the next column would be customer name. So we'll add the customer name. Again, it's going to be a textual field, and it's going to be a mandatory field, and it can be searchable. And click on done. And then the next one would be order date, and this time the data type would be date. So select date only. We are not going to show the time, just the date would be enough, and it would be required. And again click on done. And then the fourth one, which is the last one, which is order. So the last column will be order amount, and this will be numeric. So you have to check what is the corresponding numeric data type which is possible. So there is a decimal number available here. You can select decimal number, and it's also required. And then click on. So let's add an order ID, and that will be the primary column. So here the data type should be auto number. Okay, and it will be always required. So auto number means it's like the identity column in the database. Automatically every addition of data, that number will get automatically generated. And the auto number type can also be, it can be date prefix, it can be a custom, it can be string prefix. So let's be string prefixed, and we can prefix it with the letter PH for denoting the from orders, and let's make the number of digits 6. And it will automatically show you the values like 0, 0, like this is how the values will get generated, and you can click on done. So now that you have added all the required columns to your table, you can save the table now. So now the table is now created. You can see it within your tables. So the table is called order details. Now we are going to migrate the existing data to this table. So for that, you can just click on the ellipsis near to the table. You have data, and you can see the get data option. And under the get data option, you can click on the get data to get it from the Excel. So let's use the get data to connect to our file. So this screen would be very familiar for people who have already worked with Power BI. This is the standard Power Query screen. We'll be using the screen to connect to the file. So we have our data inside a CSV file, and we'll be using this Power Query to connect to the file and extract the data from our file onto the Dataverse table. So let's select text CSV, and let's first pass the file path. So the file name is called order data, and it resides inside the OneDrive documents. So let's copy the path and paste it. So the file path is now ready. Now we need to create a new connection, and connection name, let's name it like order data CSV. That is what the file consists of, and it will make use of my data gateway, because we are going to connect to a local machine, and we are going to pass the username and the password. Username would be your Windows username. So I am using a user I have created for Power BI here, and I am going to pass the password. And you can set the privacy level to organizational, so that anyone within the organization will be able to connect to this particular file. So now we have connected to the file. You can see the preview of the data, and we can click on next, and automatically the data will get loaded to the Power Query screen. If you want to do any kind of transformations here, like for example you want to concatenate a couple of columns or some simple kind of transformations, you can do it using this Power Query window. You can merge, append, and you can do a simple kind of transformations like pivot, unpivot, transpose. All these transformations can be done. This interface is same as the interface you use for the Power BI Power Query editor as well as for the Power BI Dataflows. So you can use any one of these transformations and then click on next. So in our case, because we have the data already in the mashed up form, we don't want to apply any kind of transformation. So you can click on next, and then comes the mapping. Here you need to map it. So we are going to load into an existing table. So let's select the table from within this. So you can see that it starts with that CRV37, which is the environment ID, and then we'll have our table name because it's a custom table. So order details is the table name, and then we can map it. So for the customer name, we will map it to the corresponding customer name column. Order amount will be mapped to order total. Order date will be mapped to order date. Order description will be mapped to order description. And for the rest of the two things, you can leave it because one of them is going to be auto generated, another one will be depending on the table's primary name. So you don't have to worry. So click on next. And now we are going to refresh it manually. We can either have it as a later refresh or immediately. So now we have given it immediate refresh. Now if you go to your data flows, you should be able to see this data flow now being published, and automatically it will refresh the data. So now you can see that it's published in process, and now the refreshing will also happen. The refresh is also in progress. So let's wait for the refresh to be complete, and once the refresh is complete, you will be able to see the data inside your table. So as you see, the refresh failed because we had the entries within our sheet which was longer than the default column length. So what we need to do is we need to go and change the length. So let's go, it's the order description which was causing the failure. So let's go back to order details, and let's go to the description column, and we need to now edit this. So the maximum length here is 100. So what we can do is like we can make it into, because it's a description field, we can make it into 5000. So 4000 is the max it allows. So let's make it 4000, and let's make it. So that is done. Now customer name, let's see that as well. So customer name also, it's currently 100, so let's make it 1000. So we have done two changes within the table. So you can see that changes are now marked by this icon, indicating that these are changes which are unsaved. So let's save the table. So now the table is saved. Let's go back to the data flows, and this was the data flow which failed. So let's now again start it. So the refresh is now success, there is no error. So now if you go and check the table, you should be able to see all the data. So let's go to the table, and let's go to the data, and you should be able to see the orders. So that means the entries are now created. Now let's try creating an app which is going to sit on top of this Dataverse data, and to give us the ability to add new data through the app, as well as to manipulate or update any data which is already existing. So let's go to the create option, and you have canvas up from blank, or you can connect from the data itself. So whatever way you want to do, you can do it. So let's first start from the data. We are going to connect to the Dataverse. So we will click on Dataverse, and we'll select the subscription, and then let's choose the table. So let's search for that, and this is the order details table that we created. So let's click on connect, and automatically it will start creating the app for you. You don't have to do anything. It will create an automatic app for you. automatically it created the app. So now if you try running this, you can see that it contains all the different pages, and if you click on it, you can search on any one item, or if you want to add any one item, that's also possible. So it's as of now you don't see all the details being listed here. So what we can do is, like, from the simple app we can now edit and add the additional data that is required. So let's go to the screens. We have 3 screens here. One is the main browse screen, second one is the detail screen, and then the third one would be the edit screen. So what we need to do is, we need to first add the required data inside your different screens. So here, browse screen, if you see, we have the body, the subtitle and the title. So body corresponds to the customer name, subtitle corresponds to the created on, and title corresponds to the orders. So now what we need to do is, we need to actually add the order number on top. So instead of this orders, we can add the order number or the order ID. So let's add the order ID here. So the order ID will come on top, and then comes the customer name. So that is enough for us to see in the details. And if you want, we can add one more column, one more label inside that. So for that, let's insert the label, and let's name it order total. And let's make it a little smaller. And let's make it order one. So let's add that total also here, and let's make it a little bold. So it's now normal, we'll make it bold, and let's move it to the side. So now we have the order number against which the total of the order, and then it's the currently the sorting is based on customers. If you want to see the sorting based on the order number, what you can do is, you can go to the browse gallery. Currently the gallery is having the expression like sort by columns, and the sorted column here is customer name. So instead of that, what we need to do is, we need to add the order ID. If you add the order ID, automatically it will be sorted by means of the order. So now if you see, it's sorted by means of the order. So if you want to sort it on descending or ascending, you can keep on changing this. And similarly, now let's go to the detail screen. It's only showing orders and created on here, but we need to add the other details as well. So for the easiest way to do that is, select your detail form. You can see the edit fields here. Click on edit fields. This is already linked to your data type, the data source, so it will show all the fields here. So now we have only orders and created on. Let's remove the orders, that's not required for us. Instead, we are going to add the other field. So we are going to add the customer. First, let's add the order number, then the customer name, then the order description, then the order date, and finally the order amount. So let's click on add. All of these will be added to this, and you can see the descriptions inside that. So now if you want to further beautify it, you can do that. So for the time being, we are not doing it, we are just doing the basic things. Now let's go to the edit form. Edit form, as of now, it adds only orders, and again this is, we don't need to enter the order name here, order number here, because that is going to be auto generated. So we are not going to enter any of such details, so we need to change it. Again, go to the edit fields, remove the orders. We are not going to add any order here. We don't want to have anything on created on as well. We need to add only the customer name, the order description, the order date, and the order amount. These are the only things which needs to be added. So once all of this is added, you can save it, and you can give it a name. You can give it a name like order entry app. So the app is now created. We are not going to share it now. So let's once have a quick run of the app. So let's go to the browse screen, and for running the app, you can click on the play button on the top. When you click on it, you can see the details of all the orders here. So if you want to edit any one order, you can click on this. It will show you the details of that order, and if you want to edit it, you can click on the edit button. So if you want to change it now to 2650, you can change it, and you can click on the submit button, which is the tick mark, so as to save it. So this is the way to edit an existing item. Now let's try running this application once again and try adding a new item. So we are going to add a new customer, and the order description will be manual order for new customer, and let's keep today's date, and let's make it 1200 as the amount, and let's save it. And you can see that the new one is now saved. And if you want to search for that, you can search, and this is the new one that we entered. So new customer, manual order for new customer. So now if you see that, we are able to add new orders through that, and we can also update new orders through this. So this is an example of how we can create a very simple Power App so as to manage our orders, which was maintained inside an Excel, into a Dataverse data entity, so that orders can be parallelly managed by multiple employees who are working within an order processing. They can manually add parallelly multiple orders inside our repository, and at the same time if they want to modify anything within the orders, they can also do it through this simple Power App. This is very handy. It doesn't take much. As you saw, the app development, most of the part is automatically created by the Power App itself. Only if you want to further beautify it, you can explore the various options, maybe add some nice galleries or add some scroll button and things like that. But apart from that, the basic app will be automatically created by the Power Apps. Only thing is, you need to go and make sure that the corresponding fields are added. Whatever custom fields you are adding might not be included by the app, so you have to add it yourself, and whatever is editable, you have to make it editable, and whatever fields are going to be static, you can make it as a static viewable field inside. Now for the second part, let's see how this data can be analyzed inside Power BI. Now for the second part of this demo, which is about analyzing the data which we are capturing through the Power App, we can open a blank Power BI window, and we are going to connect to the Dataverse entity that we created in our Power Apps environment. So you have the option called Dataverse available from within, directly from within the top menu. So you can click on Dataverse, and then it will ask you for the Dataverse details. So if you are already connected to the Dataverse before, it will automatically give you the details of your repository. Otherwise, you will be asked to log in using the same username that you use for your Power Apps tenant. So once you log in with your usual username, through which you created your Power Apps, you will be provided with the Dataverse entity, the default Dataverse entity, which is attached to your tenant. And you can see all the standard tables which are part of the Dataverse entity. Now we need to check for our table, which is order details. You can search for order details here, and automatically you can see that you will have the table name listed here along with the environment. So you can select the table, and it will show you the details of all the columns inside the table, which includes the standard columns. And you are only concerned about the custom columns, so you will be only using your custom columns. So now we have connected to the source using Directquery. So all the columns which are in your database table will be available inside your model, and you are only concerned about this CR37E related columns. These are the custom columns that you added to your table. Now let's add some test visuals using these columns. So we are going to add a set of cards here just for the example to see how the Directquery works here. So I am going to just add the order ID count here. So the first column would be a order ID count, and you can make the summarization as count. It will give you the count of the orders. So the count of the order is now 155. Let's add one more card which will show us the total of the order amount, and let's make it sum. So that is the order total. So you have the total number of orders is 155, the total order amount is 220. Now what we can do is, like, we can make it into a refreshable report, and let's refresh every, say, 3 seconds. Let's see how this refreshes. Every 3 seconds you can see both the cards refreshing. Now what you can do is, like, we can go backend and we can add some data, and we ensure that the data is picked up close to real time. So let's go back to the Power Platforms, and we are going to, because we are going to bulk add it, we are going to do it from the backend. So let's go to the tables again. And for the order details, we are going to go to data, get data, and let's connect to the CSV. There is one more CSV that is having data, so that's inside the downloads, and it is the Migrate 10. So we are going to connect to this, and we will be using the same connection as we did in the previous case. So you can see the preview from the new sheet. So we will be now directly dumping it, just the same steps that we did in the previous case. So now that we have done the mapping, let's go to the Dataflows and see the data flow would be refreshing automatically, and the new data will be getting inside the table. Go back to the report and check. Now you can see the data within the report changing once the refresh is done. See, automatically the data changed to from 155 to 255, and the total also got changed, which means that the new data got automatically added to the Power App. So as and when the data gets added to your Power App, the corresponding data will be reflected within your Power BI report. So what you have done is that from a simple Excel sheet which was shared across multiple team members, you brought the data into a Dataverse environment, you created a Power App on top of that, and using that Power App you can now have multiple people add the data concurrently and parallelly, and at the same time when they are adding the data, you are able to analyze the data through your Power BI reports. So this gives an opportunity for us to implement a very simple application inside Power Platform using Dataverse as the backend, and we are able to connect to that source for analysis purposes close to real time using one of our visualization tools like Power BI. So this shows the real power of Power Platform and how you can utilize the Power Platform in implementing simple use cases like this, which will help in your data capturing as well as the analysis to a greater extent. Hope this step-by-step demonstration helped you to understand how you can make use of Power Platform, particularly Power Apps, for building a quick application for performing simple operations like order entry, which can be effectively parallelized between multiple employees who are working inside a team, rather than using a file system which will cause lots of contamination issues. We also saw how we can make use of the Directquery connection from Power BI using the Dataverse as a service, which is where we store all the details from Power Apps. And as and when the app gets the new data, the corresponding data will be available for analysis inside your report. So this gives the real power of Power Platform and how you can utilize Power Platform for effectively entering your data as well as for using the data for the post to real time analysis within your visualizations. As usual, keep sending your feedback and let me know the comments. Feel free to follow my channel for getting useful tips like this, and click on the bell icon so that you get notifications on the new videos which will be released every week. Meet you all soon with another useful tip next week. Till then, bye and thanks for your time.